The first flight of a new aircraft type is always a very special moment, quite tense and often emotional. The crowds and the media will only be there to celebrate the maiden flight. However, the team conducting the test program is already looking well beyond this first flight to prepare all the development tests leading up to certification and entry into service. Before the first flight, a thorough review of the aircraft's status is performed. All defects and deviations from definition are recorded. These may be minor manufacturing flaws or anomalies leading to a limitation of the flying domain or the use of some items of equipment. Most of them have no adverse consequences. Some related to safety need to be fixed before flying. Others may impose limitations during flight tests. When it is considered that the airplane is ready, several ground runs are performed. The target is to check the operation of all systems with engines running, including degraded modes. When anomalies are found, they are progressively corrected. Several acceleration stops are performed at increasing speeds up to close to the rotation speed for first flight. Normal and alternate braking modes are tested. The first flight profile depends on the manufacturer's experience and way of doing things. Those without a long development tradition will perform a large circuit, maintaining the landing gear down. Others, like Airbus and Boeing, which have carried out many of these flights, target to open a large part of the flight envelope up to high altitude and high speed. Let's review the typical flight profile for a fly-by-wire Airbus. The first takeoff is performed with a very basic direct flight control law to eliminate the potential risks associated with an incorrect algorithm in the normal law. A first evaluation of the handling characteristics is performed in direct law, before engaging the normal law, followed by another assessment. Slats and flaps are retracted for further evaluation. Then the landing gear is retracted. From a technical point of view, this is a critical maneuver. Even if many maneuvers were performed on ground, on jacks, the landing gear may not retract correctly due to small deformations of the fuselage in flight, which prevent one or several locks engaging properly. If the landing gear cannot be locked up, the crew reverts to a Plan B flight with a profile limited to low speeds and system checks. When the landing gear is locked up, several accelerations are performed in direct law and in normal law at various altitudes, up to the maximum speed cleared for flutter, usually VMO and MMO. At low altitude, in several configurations, decelerations up to an angle of attack just below stall are carried out, with an evaluation of the handling characteristics. The first landing is performed in direct law. Then a series of 6 to 10 flights is carried out for what could be called the discovery of the aircraft. The target is to quickly identify areas where significant development work may be needed. The aircraft is flown in the entire flight envelope cleared for flutter, at the extreme center of gravity positions, in order to evaluate the flight control laws in normal operations and in various failure cases. Fuel consumption in cruise is compared to the provisions. All the systems are also checked, including the abnormal functions, such as emergency landing gear extension, alternate braking, emergency electrical system, and so on. Usually, this initial evaluation gives a fairly good idea of any potential difficulties for development. The following step is to optimize the various aerodynamics configurations by choosing the best slats and flaps deflections to reduce takeoff and landing distances. At takeoff, they need to be adapted for short rolling distance, but also for situations where obstacles very close or far away from the runway will be overflown. All takeoff performances are considered with an engine failure at the critical point. At landing, the target is the reduction of the approach speed, which may be important for some models. The position and the size of the strakes on the engine nacelles may also allow performance to be improved. For the optimization, measurements of rate of climb with one engine out in takeoff configuration, gear up, are performed, with the various slats and flaps deflections for comparison. Stall speeds are also measured for these various configurations. Most of the time, the comparison of rates of climb and stall speeds in all possible configurations and the computation of the associated performances allow the best configurations to be chosen. All flights are followed from the telemetry room. After the discovery of the aircraft, followed by the optimization of the aerodynamics configurations, the development of the aircraft and the execution of some of the certification tests can start.
Stop.
Modern aircraft are highly complex machines with millions of parts making up hundreds of systems with thousands of interconnections. The design of a new aircraft involves parts created by computation tools, tested in wind tunnels, and on dedicated test benches, and these are indispensable for the development and certification. After years of careful planning, design adjustments, the integration of new materials, and the latest innovations, the aircraft is finally ready to fly. However, in many situations, how an aircraft actually behaves is only really discovered when it takes off. That is why flight tests are essential. Let's look at some examples. In wind tunnels, very low speeds and high Mach number flying characteristics can be identified. But due to various factors, such as scale effect, it is necessary to perform flight tests to confirm the handling qualities of the airplane.
18, 95, 21.
This is also true for ground effect. Consequently, the tuning of the control laws close to the ground for takeoff, landing and auto-land is a hands-on process involving progressive adjustment of the control parameters by the engineers. Aerodynamic coefficients are not known exactly before flying, and there are sometimes surprises. Final tuning of the flight control laws is carried out in flight, mainly at the limit of the flight domain, such as for the high angle of attack protections. The development of the braking system suffers from the same difficulty. The forces applied on the wheels vary with the lift created by the speed, and in ground effect, it is not possible to build a proper computation model. In addition, for some airplanes, the distribution of the weight on the various wheels is not precisely known. Therefore, the tuning and the determination of the performances of the braking system, such as the maximum energy for the brakes, can only be performed by flight tests. The forces on the structure of the airplane may have been underestimated or overestimated during the design phase. They are first confirmed by tests on a static airframe. Then the huge number of load sensors on development aircraft allows the final validation. Even after computations and ground tests, a risk of flutter in the flight envelope up to VD and MD, which are the design dive speeds used for the structural sizing, cannot be totally excluded. A progressive extension of the flight domain by tests up to these speeds is required. Systems also need to be tested in real flight conditions. At the beginning of a program, anomalies may be found due to deficiencies in the design or the installation. The air conditioning system is tested in flight, as the model of exchange with the outside of the fuselage is not sufficiently precise. In addition, the circulation of air inside the cabin is checked in real conditions. We have only reviewed here some of the areas where flight tests are necessary. EASA and FAA regulations impose flight tests in many domains because, very often, it is not possible to guarantee the results by computation or ground tests. The evolution of the certification rules leads to more tests being performed to certify the airplane for all types of operations. ETOPS at entry into service is just one example. In addition, the high complexity of new functions, such as flight control protections, systems to improve comfort, and so on, increases the need for flight test verification. Therefore, the number of flight hours necessary to develop and certify a new aircraft is almost the same as in the past, despite the fact that the engineers have access to more parameters and have more powerful tools for faster tuning. Flight tests are really necessary.
Hi there, from our showroom in Toulouse. Did you know that the new ACJ 220 extra large bizjet offers up to 3 times more living space than similar sized bizjets? Today is World Design Day, and we've got something really cool in store for you to design and reimagine your place in the sky. We're introducing our brand new online interactive ACJ 220 cabin configurator for you to explore and configure all 6 living areas from the ACJ 220's signature flexible cabin catalog. The impressive interior was designed by Sylvain Maria, Head of Creative Design at ACJ, and the first 15 cabins will be realized by our exclusive outfitting partner, Comlux. Imagine this. With the unmatched personal space and hundreds of possible configurations, the only limit is your imagination. So, enjoy this unique experience. Oh, and by the way, one really cool feature that I like, once you've made your home in the sky, feel free to download your creation as a PDF. Inside you'll find more information on this impressive aircraft. And then feel free to share your creation on social media using hashtag ACJ220. I'm really curious to see what your dream ACJ220 looks like. Happy World Design Day.
So the aim of the flight was to test a new kind of fuel. It's called HEFA. It's a sustainable aviation fuel. In this case, it's use cooking oil. We have put on engine 2, the red one, and we have assessed the engine behavior with this fuel and compare how it behaves with the normal fuel, Jet A1. It was perfect. There was no change in the engine behavior. No, we are very happy. I think it was a step forward for the aircraft.
Sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF as we know it, is a key enabler in the decarbonisation of Airbus industrial strategy. The SAF has been used on the Beluga fleet since December 2019, so Broughton is actually the second site in Europe to start using SAF. Today we're running 35% SAF combined with 65% Jet A1, so the technology is there at the moment to use up to 50%. And we'll be looking to do that in future years. I think the Beluga is beginning to use SAF from Broughton is a huge message, not only to the industry but the world as a whole, that if Airbus can use SAF, then our customers can too. So I think it's a real huge step in the right direction.
2700 heures de vol.
5000 heures de vol.
8000 heures de vol.
4000 heures de vol d'essai.
4200 heures.
7500 heures.
10 500 heures de vol.
Tigre.
Tigre.
Cabri.
Toute la famille, Puma.
L'écureuil, le C130.
Super Puma, Dauphin. Et...
On va sauter sur tout ce qui bouge, hein, c'est notre métier.
Moi je suis pilote d'essai.
Pilote d'essai expérimental d'hélicoptère.
Moi, je suis ingénieur navigant d'essai.
Moi, mécanicien navigant.
On est un équipage d'essai, donc
On vole souvent pour les grosses machines à 3.
Je prépare les ordres d'essai.
Überwiegend fliege ich Entwicklungsflüge für die Prototypen auf der H145 und helfe jedoch in der Produktion aus für den Fall, dass da Flüge benötigt werden.
comme souvent beaucoup de pilotes, c'est le rêve d'enfant.
Depuis tout petit, c'est vrai que le monde aéronautique et les avions me font rêver.
J'habitais en face d'un aérodrome, donc c'était vraiment ce que je voulais faire dans la vie.
Et j'avais, quand j'étais petit, une photo de mon père quand il était à l'armée, à côté d'un Bell 47, et j'avais trouvé cette photo superbe.
J'ai toujours été passionné, impressionné par les hélicoptères, je les ai regardés de loin. Ça paraissait inaccessible.
Et c'est pour moi un rêve qui est réalisé.
Oh, la diversité.
Non, non, le pilote.
Pardon, c'est vrai, le pilote.
On n'est pas enfermé dans un bureau.
On fait jamais la même chose.
La satisfaction physique de la troisième dimension, le fait de réaliser ce qu'on nous demande de faire.
Das Arbeiten im Team, zusammen an einer Neuentwicklung zu arbeiten, neue Grenzen zu entdecken und dadurch natürlich die Kundenmissionen erfüllen zu können.
De croire en son rêve, de rien lâcher.
De croire en ses rêves, ça c'est essentiel.
Et d'aller au bout, de ne pas se décourager.
Motivation et ténacité.
Man braucht Durchsetzungsvermögen, man muss nicht faul sein, so harte Arbeit ist eine wichtige Voraussetzung und vor allem auch Disziplin.
Faire le maximum, le maximum.
Peu importe ce que vous disent les autres, peu importe ce que vous pensez, allez-y, accrochez-vous.
Ne pas oublier que la chance, ça se travaille.
Si on n'est pas passionné, c'est difficile de tenir la longueur. Donc je pense que la passion, c'est certainement ce qui vient en tête. On va proche du cercle polaire, à New York City, dans l'Himalaya, dans les déserts.
Brésil, Chili, Indonésie, la Chine.
On est allé faire du moins 40 dans le nord du Canada. On n'y serait jamais allé comme ça, simplement en vacances.
Chaque paysage, même si on a déjà survolé, est différent en fonction de la lumière, en fonction des nuages, en fonction de tout ça.
C'est juste incroyable les opportunités qu'il y a.
Un des meilleurs souvenirs, c'est les vols au-dessus de la banquise.
J'ai eu la chance, bien sûr, de réaliser un rêve depuis longtemps, c'est d'aller me poser sur l'Everest. Donc je pense que là, je suis comblé pour ma carrière.
Ich hätte einen Wunsch, ich möchte gerne nochmal nach Kathmandu und würde gerne die Maschine im Himalaya operieren.
Il reste le monde à découvrir, il y a plein de choses.
Rien d'autre.
Alors moi j'avoue que j'ai plein d'idées.
L'automobile ou les camions, j'aime bien les camions aussi.
Arzt gewesen oder Astronaut?
Der Prof de Sport.
Schreiner, Zimmermann, Schlosser, etwas in der Art.
Moi je pense que j'aurais été malheureux si j'avais pas fait ça.
Pilote.
Wir hoffen, dass mit der World Pilot Day zumindest mal einen tieferen und besseren Einblick gegeben wird in den Alltag von, in unserem Fall Testingenieure, Testpiloten und was bei Airbus Helicopters in unserem Metier so geschieht.
Happy quoi?
Happy.
Happy.
Ok.
Ensemble, c'est ça? Allez, 1, 2, 3. Happy World. On va en refaire.
Happy World Pilot Day.
Happy World Pilot Day.